podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Well, we roll on. Manchester United through to yet another semi-final, Ed.
Semi-final of the FA Cup, semi-final of the League Cup, semi-final of the Europa League, third in the Premier League. I make that a quadruple.
Some very horrible headlines in the Mirror saying that Solskjaer had said that winning the Europa League would be better than the treble, basically, when what he actually said was he would be unbelievably proud. It would be his personal proudest achievement, which is a very, very, very different thing. But yeah.
It's sad state of journalism today that they need that in order to get the clicks through to the article where everyone reads the quotes and goes, oh, okay. He said nothing of the sort.
But the level of literacy is not yet high enough that the headline won't be used as a stick to beat Solskjaer with by some people, both in good and bad faith.
Yes.
Will the performance against Copenhagen be used as a stick to beat Solskjaer? I mean, I have to say, I sort of took the temperature of various United groups, and it seemed like everyone was extremely miserable. I thoroughly enjoyed that game. I don't know if there's something wrong with me. Of course, it was a bit frustrating.
Yes, but yeah, let's talk about the football.
It was a bit frustrating that we kept hitting the post and that the first goal was slightly offside and there was another offside goal. And, there was that kind of worry about whether we'd get through or not. But as I've said a number of times on the show, all I've wanted in the latter Van Gaal and all the way through the Mourinho period is for United to be fun to watch. And I will take our number 9 trying to beat 15 men while the 17-year-old striker tries to score wonder goals and the attacking midfielder behind him is trying to thread through balls every time he touches the ball or shoot from range, almost always causing damage of some kind. I found it quite a fun attacking performance. Calamitous defensively, but quite fun attacking-wise.
Yeah, well, calamitous defensively, almost. Right?
Yes,
so,
that's right.
Sergio Romero didn't make a save and Johansson made 13. So that's a good metric of the difference in size. I think the two problems for United were if there are problems, right? Why didn't United dispatch a pretty mediocre side in more comfortable fashion? One was the temptation to shoot from anywhere. So 6 of those 13 saves that Johansson made were very low XG shots from outside the box. Now, sometimes they go in, but statistically, it's not very often, right? And so I don't think United were making as many clear-cut openings as their dominance of possession in the final third of the pitch would have suggested. And mostly I think that's because actually Copenhagen did a reasonable job, given how mediocre they are as a side, of narrowing the pitch, knowing that United have no options in wide areas. Not a single one. And you can see why Solskjaer has prioritised Jadon Sancho, because we have no one in the squad capable of instead of coming inside and narrowing the game down, widening the pitch and opening it up. It's what Manchester, we make fun of Manchester City for always walking the ball in, but their most common, goal type, narrative is basically getting around the back and cutting it back for someone to come in and shoot, right?
Absolutely.
We don't score too many goals like that. So, dominance of possession, complete dominance in terms of chances created and shots, but didn't open them up enough to make all that dominance translate into the best goals. And that was the frustrating bit. Sorry, not the best goals, enough goals, more goals. That was the frustrating bit that yes, United hit the post, 2 or 3 times?
Twice at least. So the Greenwood one that Rashford tapped in was offside, and the Bruno one from range.
Yeah, exactly. So, and yes, United had a lot of shots, but when we needed to open the pitch out, we couldn't. And that's simple. It's because Aaron Wan-Bissaka, although he's getting better, is not an attacking fullback. He's trying to do the thing that is not natural to him, and on the other side, Brandon Williams, as talented as the kid is, he always cuts into his.
Well, he's right-footed.
He always cuts inside because he's right-footed, and Luke Shaw is allergic to getting into the final third and crossing the ball.
No, he isn't. That's nonsense. He does it all the time. He just doesn't do it great. He does it a lot this season. He's done it a lot. Like Luke Shaw had more touches of the ball in the box than Harry Kane in the month of June or July, whichever one it was. I can't remember. That's too easy. You can criticise Luke Shaw for a lot of things, but that's too easy and not accurate. The thing about this game is I almost feel like a lot of the sense of the Copenhagen game is defined by the first 25 minutes where United really, really, really struggled. And Robbie Savage provided one of the single worst pieces of analysis I've ever heard on football television. I thought it was a uniquely awful bit of tactical analysis because he said, we know United struggle with a low block. And it's like, well, no, in this game, United are not struggling with the low block. The first 25 minutes was defined by United being unable to get past the press. There was the one where Fred was in the middle of the two centre-backs and nearly created there was a massive turnover created. Nothing came of it. But United weren't able to maintain any possession, get the ball into Copenhagen's half. That was the problem. Once Copenhagen did sit in a low block, it was only a matter of time. You say that 6 of the shots were from outside the box, which is of course true. But the total XG created by United was substantial in and of itself. And the post-shot XG that was saved, but according to FB Rep, which I think it's a stats bomb statistic that they've licensed.
Yeah.
It was like 3.5 goals of post-shot XG saved by the keeper. So it's not like they were useless pot shots that were defining United's day. We created us through either like there were a substantial number of big chances, and then there was the offside Greenwood goal, which was a very narrow margin away from being a massive chance created. Well, I don't know how massive a chance it is, but it was a hell of a finish. He's very good. Mason Greenwood is very good at football. And you have Martial dancing around half their team and then not being able to. There was a couple where they didn't even where we didn't take a shot where a big almost chance was created. So I think you're right that there was an element of frustration, but it's not like we were shy on good quality goal attempts in terms of a combination of good quality in absolute terms and good quality in terms of the quality of shot that the players were able to get off.
Yes, I mean three big chances created for United, which accounts for lots of that XG.
Not the post-shot stuff, though, right? That's or quite a lot of it, but
yeah, quite a lot of it. But sure, but look, it's and I wouldn't take my analysis as being a criticism of United's inability to create chances. I'm just saying there wasn't a plan B, and we've moved on. So in the past, there wasn't a plan B would have meant that United could only sit in a lone block and break. And Robbie Savage's analysis is based on last year's performances or the early part of this season, which was there were no creative choices at all. Now United are on the front foot in most games, almost all of them, and the frustration is a different one. What I'm saying is in this particular game, where Copenhagen pressed from the front and then got back into shape very, very quickly and sat their fullbacks very, very narrow, it said to United, okay, you can try and pass through us, but the chances of succeeding with those passes is slim. Or you can get around the back, and we know you're not going to be able to do that.
But the thing is, we did pass through them. Their goalkeeper had to have an absolute worldie of a performance for this to go to extra time for us to win, which we did. So it's not like their strategy worked against us, unless their strategy included the keeper's going to have. It was
15 minutes away from working.
Yeah, but it didn't work, and it was 15 minutes away from working because Martial was on some sort of absolute unbelievable business, but couldn't quite get that final finish right, and their goalkeeper, as everyone commented, had gone fully Brad Friedel. So, and of course, it doesn't matter anyway, because eventually United will get a penalty. Because it's just what we do, Ed. We get penalties. It's what we do.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. I mean, yes, I only 75% agree with you. I understand what you're saying. United did create the chances. I just still think that the problem is, you will likely lose if you sit in Robbie Savage's low block against United as a mediocre team, because at some point United are either going to get a penalty because we have a lot of players who run with the ball, or we'll get a long shot off, or we'll create the chance to win it for you. There's not to go a step further. United are going to need more variety. In that, we will be able to go through the middle, or wide, or create the long shots, or win from set pieces, or whatever it is.
Yeah,
and it's not a big structural thing. I think, and the thing that was really apparent in this game, I think, is how United struggle at fullback. I mean, just looking through the stats, 2 assists for Luke Shaw this season and 4 for Aaron Wan-Bissaka across all competitions. Trent Alexander-Arnold has 13 on his own. And I know that was... No, but you're making a face because you're like, oh, that's not a fair benchmark. Of course it's a fair benchmark, because you say, hey, what is the quality of player that you need in order to win competitions? And you look at that quality.
How many fullbacks in Premier League history have 13 assists in a season?
I'm just saying that is a benchmark you can look at. I'm not saying they have to, otherwise they're shit.
Yeah.
Right? It's not binary. It's not Twitter here, Paul. We're allowed to have a conversation on that.
Well, it's not Twitter, so we probably shouldn't kind of go give in to like the most...
What's the benchmark that's okay for you? Because I think a low number of shot creating chances and a very low number of assists, reveals a weakness that United would solve if we took a different direction. Now, that different direction may be from within the club. I don't think Luke Shaw is ever going to be that attacking fullback that creates chances, right? It's just not going to happen for him.
Not since the leg break.
Wan-Bissaka, we'll see. I mean, he's got room to improve, but I think he's like the ceiling may be not that much higher in an attacking sense. We'll see. We'll see. And then, so United have to find another option. And then all our forward players are basically forwards, aren't they?
Yeah.
Even Dan James, he can't go around the outside and put a cross in. It hardly ever happens. And on the left, he wants to cut in and shoot wildly. So it's definitely a challenge for United, this one.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Although I would say that given that we've had, the Zlatan season's maybe a little bit of an aberration, but basically since Louis van Gaal took over, we haven't been able to beat teams that sit in a low block. And now we can. Yeah. And we haven't yet got to the point where, so like you said, a goal passing through the middle, goal from a set piece, penalty created. Well, we've got those 3 things sorted. And yes, you're right. We are struggling from creativity for the flanks. I'm not sure we need to be setting the bar at 13 assists per season for our fullbacks, because most creative midfielders don't get 13 assists in the league in a season. So,
all competitions. But no, sure. But shoot for the moon and see where you get. Yeah. So it's even if you don't like that as a benchmark and as a comparison, United must improve in this area. Anyway, that was a long conversation about one problem United had in this game. It was also, by the way, a problem in some of the late season Premier League games where teams had worked out this is United's weakness. Let the fullbacks have it, and the likelihood is they won't be able to hurt you. So.
I mean, this is true. Although Wan-Bissaka's got 4 league assists this season, which I think is more than most people would have thought he would have got by this point. And there was one in this game where it's like, head up, Aaron. Like, he got himself into such a good position. There was a striker free in the box and he just didn't look before he tapped in the cross. And it was a shame. The 2 interesting decisions in the team selection in this game were Eric Bailly's presence and Fred's ahead of Nemanja Matic. Fred did nothing to argue for a place in the side, I would say. In fact, I would say he was very bad in this game. Bailly, though, guess what? Bailly was like all action and put in a bunch of absolutely incredible kind of blocks and tackles and last minute things, and always looked like something a little bit wacky was about to happen. So Eric Bailly is going to Eric Bailly. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, interesting. Whether I'm not sure what that was about. Whether it was just a tactical change from Solskjaer, who preferred Bailly in this position and his pace over Lindelof, and probably his superior ball distribution skills, or whether Lindelof was just not fresh enough because he came on later, so he's obviously not injured. Fred, yes, I mean it's always compromised when he has to play as a six like that because that's not his natural game. His natural game is something more industrious. It's a problem for him, I'd say. I mean, I think it's fair to say that this season has been a positive one for him mostly. But he's also part of the creativity problem. So if you play him instead of Pogba or Fernandes, then you're taking out an awful lot of progressive passing because Fred doesn't do that. Right? He gets around the pitch. He's industrious. He does make interceptions. But playing him as a six reveals some weaknesses. And you're right, he didn't have a good game. Nemanja Matic came on and almost gave away a free kick in a really dangerous area late on in the game. I was like, oh, classic Nemanja, So he does the opposite to Fred, right? He makes a lot of progressive passes for a defensive midfielder and improves United's recycling of the ball significantly, I'd say, when he's in the team. And the weakness is his legs are not there, and it gets revealed every single time he plays. Which is a struggle, and it will be, if he plays against Sevilla, I think we'll be looking for that because Sevilla have a lot of players who run forward from deep.
I just looked up Gary Neville's assist record, by the way, 35 assists in 400 appearances in the league.
Not great.
Football's changed, to be fair, since then, and fullback's quite a much more important attacking one. But anyway,
yes, Gary Neville had David Beckham ahead of him from an awful lot of that time.
Yeah, exactly. Another person whose legs have gone is Juan Mata, and when he came on for Greenwood at the stroke of full time, I guess it was beginning of extra time, was like, oh, what are you doing, Ollie? Greenwood kind of looked the one most likely. Juan Mata massively changed the game, really added a dimension to United's progressive attacking around the box, and basically opened up the space that created the penalty, and basically ran rampant for about 5 minutes, and was one of, well, clearly one of the most important agents in United's success. So well done, Ollie. Good sub.
Yes, no, I mean, it worked out really well. Yes, I felt the same way. Greenwood always looks like a threat, even if he's not deeply involved in the game. When he gets the ball, something can happen. It's the debate on. I was watching this game on TBS, and the debate was about whether he could continue to score all these worldies, Greenwood. But basically, the goal he scored when it was offside was Greenwood encapsulated. He breaks all the models. Yeah. He doesn't fit the average because his finishing is so good, and I don't think that's a hot run. That is Mason Greenwood. Now, his challenge when he's playing outside, of course, is get on the ball enough because he will only go one way, and that's inside. And which is great because he's extremely dangerous on his left foot. But he wasn't deeply involved in this game apart from the few chances he had. And you're right, the change for Mata worked out extremely well. Maybe Ollie knows more than we think he does. And I mean, it gave United some control, right? Because what Mata does is he knows how to find space, and even if he can't run into it himself.
It's a shame. It's such a shame that he has got to that point that certain type of players get to in their career where they are always offside because they're too slow to break the offside trap now. So they just don't stand in the right place. It happened to Van Persie at the end of his time at United, was offside all the time. And it's happening to Mata now. I wanted to talk about Bruno. What I don't want to do is have the discussion we've had 40 times on the show and will have again. So we don't need to have that discussion. I just wanted to note that I thought his touch looked back to, because he was looking so leggy, so tired at the back end of the league season. I thought, especially in the first sort of 2/3 of the game, not that he didn't give the ball away a lot. Obviously, he did. That's the conversation, dear listener, that I'm trying to avoid having. But I just thought that he looked a little bit more on it, a little bit less tired. But Vitishan...
Not by the end of 120 minutes, he didn't.
No, Vitishan Tanharaja tweeted this absolutely brilliant tweet. He's like, I've never watched a footballer and thought, God, I hope he's got some annual leave lined up. And then he replied to his own tweet with, join a union, Bruno. It's like Solskjaer's running him into the ground. He needs help to protect him from the bosses.
Yeah, fair. Okay, so look, I won't really litigate the conversation we had 40 times. So just point people to an article on The Athletic that came out last week on possession and why it matters. I think it might even be called that, in which they run through a bunch of statistics. And one of the interesting points about that, which articulated in a better way than I've managed on this podcast, is why, when Bruno gives away the ball, it can be a real problem for United. Now, it can be great for United because he creates chances. And so in this game, he lost possession 21 times. Or no, he failed to complete a pass 21 times. It does translate quite well to turnovers. And maybe in 600 passes that United made in this game, that feels like not very many. But if the distinct number of possessions United have is more like 80 or 90, then you're talking about turning over the ball 25% of the time through one guy, right? That's why it's a problem. And in this game, it wasn't a problem because it's, the percentage of those turnovers that ended up in Copenhagen creating a chance for themselves, I assume, was pretty low. I don't know how to work that out statistically. That's the only point. Go read that article. I thought it was interesting.
The pursuit of fun. This is the thing that nobody seems to. The pursuit of fun should not be underestimated. And Bruno is fun FC. Bruno, funno more like he gets the ball. He's like, right, what is the most fun thing I can try and do with this right now? But yeah, Pogba, on the other hand, remains both fun and staggeringly effective. The number of times that he beat the press in this game on his own with no help from any of his useless teammates who can't beat the press to save their lives.
No, that's right. I mean, I think there's... I can understand why you wouldn't want this to happen, right? But if Pogba was to sit even deeper than he has been, and he's the man to recycle the ball off the central defenders, I think United would be in a much stronger position. Right, much stronger. And it's, I'm sure this point has been made elsewhere. That's where United are falling down with this high press now. People talk about Harry Maguire having a decent touch and being able to pass, and same with Lindelof, but they're not that good. Right? They're just not that good. They're okay. And we got ourselves into trouble with teams that press our back four. And you know what? Everyone else can see that. Right, so it's going to happen more and more. It's not by accident.
Who was it? It was Southampton, wasn't it? When like we were saying, they're clearly targeting Luke Shaw and what it was. I think Lindelof might have been Maguire, and then they just started targeting everyone. Matic, of course, was playing from the beginning of that game, but they started targeting everyone, and they managed to get the ball off Pogba, which not many people can do, and that led to their goal.
So it's one of the reasons why I also keep saying I think a defensive midfielder would be really good, not just from the defending structural part of our game, but for recycling the ball. I mean, just throwing a name out there, but if United had someone like N'Golo Kante at his best, I think we'd be functionally so much superior than with Fred or Matic or even McTominay, who's not really a defensive midfielder. So probably available as well this summer,
That would be exciting.
A couple of seasons of an ancient Chelsea player.
Shout out to the absolutely staggeringly brilliant bit of play from Copenhagen, the Redondo moment with the back heel through the legs. Just superb. And why the lad in the middle didn't shoot and tried to pass it to the guy the one when he cuts it back with the back heel and then he's there with Romero right there. The goal's wide open to him, and instead of taking the shot, I don't know, for some reason he thinks his mate's in a better position and knocks it to him, but it was a really bad decision because I think we all thought that was a goal. I mean, there were a number of times in this game, and Romero didn't end up making a save because there was another defensive block. I'd like to see how many blocks United made, considering Romero didn't have to make a save. I suspect it was relatively high for the possession kind of comparisons.
It was interesting. I hadn't seen Rasmus Falk, or I hadn't noticed him. I watched the previous Copenhagen game, but I didn't really notice him in the same way in that one. And he was great in this game, wasn't he, as a kind of creative outlet? But he's only got one cap, which is he looks far too good to not have more caps than that for a small country.
Is he Danish?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe does he play at 10? Maybe because this could say that's maybe one area that Denmark's got an actual kind of world-class player in that position.
Yeah, I think he mostly plays off the left, but he's
Right.
obviously like a 10 playing off the left in the sort of Zidane mould. Not saying he's that good.
Really, a really entertaining game of football in a lot of ways anyway, this. Martial, just before we finish, you said Martial's had his oats. Like, he was so on it from minute one. And I've never seen a performance deserve a goal except for the bit where you actually put the ball in the back of the net, which he didn't do that good a job of that. I mean, probably his single kind of cleanest strike was he tried to score the Martial goal from outside the box and hit that unreal sweet, and it was a very nice save from the keeper. But
I mean, I wonder whether if we hadn't hired José Mourinho, sorry, just, 1 minute of a agenda here for those who want to forward. If we hadn't hired José Mourinho and had hired a coach who actually believed in creative players at that point, whether this Martial, we might not have seen him 2 years ago, because he's always had that in him. And this combination of being able to play 9 effectively, ball in front of him or with his back to goal, doesn't do that a lot. Running into the channels, running with the ball and finishing well. I mean, it's a great combination of all his skill sets being showcased in this game, apart from the finishing bit. It's the forwards we kind of admire and love who do that. People like Ronaldo, original Ronaldo, right? I mean, obviously he was superb at every aspect of that game. Yeah. And again, an unrealistic benchmark, since it's a podcast of unrealistic benchmarks. But that's the kind of thing we want from Anthony Martial. And he's got it all in the locker.
And he shows it week in and week out and week in and week out and has done literally all season except when he was injured. Like it's been an unbelievable season. We're going to do a season review at some point, and I'm going to take some shifting from my position on who I believe the player of the season should be. I mean, listen, he's a French centre forward.
I know you're going to want to argue for Luke Shaw, but I've got a few candidates other than that.
Rashford, I thought, struggled slightly again.
Struggled a lot. He had a really bad game. He looks out of sorts. I mean, has he had a really good game since we came back from lockdown?
Yeah, he had one or two. Actually, when everyone else was starting to struggle a bit, he looked like he was starting to find some form, I thought. But I don't think he hasn't put it all together in the way that he did pre-lockdown. I'm not worried about that, though. I think that's... And in a way, Martial's doing the job that he's suited to better than Rashford is doing the job that he's suited to, because you could argue that Rashford probably is more of a centre-forward anyway. I mean, I don't even know if that's true anymore, but it's definitely a reasonable argument. I'm not worried about his long term at all. But yeah, Martial would definitely be this player if we hadn't hired José Mourinho and we'd hired, I don't know, somebody who isn't a weird enemy of football. I mean, I know. We're going to talk about Sevilla, right? Should we take a little break and then come back and talk about Sevilla?
Yeah, let's. Yes, I haven't got anything more to say about this game. I mean, United made it through. It's going to be hard. Pep said this, actually. I think it was on Ollie, that they're not allowed masseurs and their cryo chambers and all the sort of post-match recovery that they normally have. And it's hard. And Ollie then said after this game, there actually isn't that much time, although it feels like it's 6 days or whatever. There isn't that much time to prepare for the next game and get everyone fit and ready. And that's, United did look a bit leggy towards the end of this game. Obviously, 120 minutes. Everyone's going to do that, and we're just hoping that there's enough left in the tank for this next game, because it's going to be a high energy game, this next one.
Are you telling me that Pep Guardiola needs his little trinkets for recovery? Oh, interesting. Anyway, let's take a break. If you want more from the show in between shows, check us out on the socials. We are NQAT Pod on Instagram, Ed's at NQAT Pod on Twitter, and we are under our real names on Facebook at No Question About That. De Gea, Valencia, Lindelof, Smalling, Young, Matic, Herrera, McTominay, Mata, Lukaku, Alexis. A bench of Bailly, Darmian, Romero, Pogba, Martial, Rashford, Lingard. War criminal. That was the starting 11 as has been widely circulated in the away leg of the Champions League game against Sevilla, when the war criminal that used to be in charge of our club had literally the three best players in the squad, I would say. That squad, the three best players, all on the bench. They're not going to be on the bench come the game against Sevilla on whenever it is.
Sunday night. No, they won't be, I assume. I mean, Rashford, with that performance, I guess you could say he's at risk, but he won't. He'll start. So, and Pogba and Martial certainly will. Yes, José Mourinho, an enemy of football and enemy of creative players. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, not. And you know, a big chance. I mean, lost in the FA Cup semi-final, lot of changes there. Lost in the League Cup semi-final, obviously against City, destroyed in that first half of that first leg. Basically, that was all decided. And now a big chance against a very good Sevilla side. Finished fourth in La Liga, same number of points as Atletico, and you know, sort of the best of the rest. Those two teams managed by Julen Lopetegui. God, I knew I was going to ruin that one, but the former Spain and Real Madrid manager.
Hold on. You can't. He's not. He should never be known as the former Spain and Real Madrid manager, because that tells a very different story to what actually happened.
Yeah, that's true.
The man who was sacked the night before a World Cup started for agreeing to take the Real Madrid job, which he lost in 6 months. That's Julen Lopetegui.
Yes, unfortunate, but he's built a good Sevilla side. I mean, they're interesting because they. I was looking up their data in La Liga this season, and they have more possession than any team bar Real and Barcelona. They've created more chances than any team bar Real and Barcelona. They have a better defensive record than any team bar Real and Atletico. You know, so there's a lot of strengths here. There are some weaknesses. They're still reliant on Ever Banega, who's obviously had a wonderful career, but is on the slide, I would say. But it was very good against Wolves. Especially in the second half.
He's 32. He's getting towards the slide. I was going to say, Ed, who's your favourite Sevilla player and why is it Ever Banega?
Yeah, that's right. He's everyone's favourite Sevilla player. Right?
That guy.
It's post hipster. Everyone likes him. Yeah. And they've got pace at fullback. Jesus Navas plays at fullback for them, for Manchester City winger. They've got Reguilon, who's a Real Madrid player, but a young left-sided fullback who's been linked with various clubs in England, sort of thought to be available, but a good player. And then they've got this kind of flexible three up front, Suso, El Nezri, and Campos, who scored the goal against Wolves. So, I thought they were pretty good against Wolves. They obviously had a lot of possession. I think I put in the NQAT WhatsApp group. It's really hard to tell if a team's any good when they're playing Wolves because everyone looks the same, Wolves don't want possession. They're 27% possession in this game. And their game plan is the same. It's keep it tight and look for the chance. And they had the chance. Raul Jimenez missed a penalty in that first half, which might have given them the platform to shut out this game in the latter stages.
Yeah, I mean, Sevilla are probably a tougher challenge than Wolves in a lot of ways, but I am glad we've got them rather than Wolves, just in the pursuit of some attempt at a fun game, because it would not have been a fun game against Wolves. And this way we get to see Ever Banega against Manchester United. I mean, one of the fascinating things in this game is going to be, can United dominate possession? Not dominate possession, but maintain consistent periods of possession, because I think that's going to be a real challenge for them. And against,
I think it will be, yeah. So we were talking about possession earlier and giving the ball away. 24.6% possession for Wolves in the game against Sevilla, 68% pass completion rate. They just didn't want the ball. But look deeper at the data. Sevilla, they keep the ball really well. 58% average possession across La Liga this season in a league that values possession. So they're very good at it, and it will be a problem for United to use the ball effectively in those periods when we have it, because I suspect that Sevilla will try and dominate the ball, not to the extent that they did against Wolves.
I mean, they have goals all over their team, but their kind of leading goal scorer is a Campos, who got 14 goals in the league this season. and De Jong was like second with 6. So they're not massively prolific forwards. But like I said, they do spread those goals around. I mean, that was Ocampo's first goal in the Europa League. We should also point out the very obvious thing that they are massive Europa League specialists. I mean, their run in this competition is absolutely ridiculous, and the number of times
I know.
they've won
I mean,
it.
historically though, that's because they're like the best of the rest, or one of the best of the rest in Spain. It's a strong league, and I know historically they've won it a ton of times in the last sort of 15 years.
Colin Miller tweeting, they've now won 24 of their last 25 Europa League knockout ties, including finals, 25 different opponents. Slavia Prague are the only side to stop them since the run, which started with victory over Mladost Podgorica in August 2013.
What was that team again? Sorry?
Yeah, that was just some team. But since August 2013, they've won 24 out of 25 Europa League knockout ties. I don't think Man United are the favourite for this tie. I really don't. I think we've lost 2 semi-finals this season. But you could say the circumstances were what they were. But I think this is a team that I said I'd rather we were playing them than Wolves for the sake of fun. I think actually Wolves trying to sit back and soak everything up and counter-attack against us, they might have won that way, but it's a dangerous way to play against this Man United side. I think a kind of fairly aggressive press and ability to tire United's midfield and play around them, it's really quite an effective way, because it's not like our defensive unit, even though the record is spectacular, both in terms of not conceding goals and not giving up chances. The numbers are great, but the eye test has just not looked great at any point since about halfway through this season. They've looked a sort of shambles waiting to happen. So I'm really nervous about this. I don't think it's not a foregone conclusion. I don't think it's even that likely. Of course, United could win. They've got absolute game-winning players across the front 5. But it's going to be a huge challenge.
Yeah, I mean, Sevilla, I think, are kind of they're not a high pressing side. They press and then sit back as a kind of structure. I think it's pretty much a sort of classical European system there, right? This is not the Gegenpressing.
No, sorry, that's kind of what I meant.
Exactly. And they'll play with a 4-3-3. And so formation-wise, it's probably going to match up reasonably well. But they are a good side. They're a good side. Not without their flaws, I'd say. But it's going to be a tough ask for United, for sure. And the thing is, the thing that worries me is how much energy there's in the tank of United. I mean, in the game against Lask, you can kind of discount because who knows with those guys, right? The game against Copenhagen, it felt like they ran out. I know it's 120 minutes, but it kind of did. We'll see how true that is. I was praying that Sevilla would get extra time as well. 2 minutes away from it, because I thought that'd even things up a little bit. We've got the extra 24 hours. Maybe that does. Yeah.
I think that 24 hours probably equates to that half an hour pretty well, actually. Because, I didn't think for most of the 90 minutes United looked exhausted. It wasn't like it had been at the back end of the season. Looked very disjointed in the first 25 minutes. But once we found our groove, I thought the energy didn't look a massive problem until right at the end. And then, I don't know how much stock you put in. It was 32 degrees. We didn't even mention this. I was sat in my house eating my dinner in front of the telly while the football was on, thinking it is too hot to sit and eat my dinner in front of the telly watching this, let alone run around and play in it for
the weather forecast looks a bit better for Sunday. There may be rain, and it looks like sort of mid-20s.
Yeah.
Right. So that's good.
Yeah.
I think.
Especially against Sevilla, of all teams, like a team that is not unused to playing in extremely warm temperatures based on their geographical situation. So, it's going to be a fantastic game. I mean, this is an actual proper European tie. Lask and Copenhagen, with all the goodwill in the world, that's not a kind of tasty European tie.
Finally we've actually played someone decent this season.
Yeah. 4th place in La Liga and third place in the Premier League are probably fairly equivalent in terms of levels. I think our best players are better than their best players, but I'm not convinced about our structure versus their structure. So
yeah, no, true. And look, I think we've got more weapons.
Yeah,
basically, that's not an insult. Just
and they've got Ever Banega.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see whether Solskjaer comes up with a tactical plan to negate him, because obviously he's central to many of their sort of creative output, and whether Scott McTominay plays to harass him. We'll see, or whether we'll focus more on our attacking play, in which case Matic will play.
Yeah, I mean, I know where my money would be in that. I think we almost need Matic to play in this game, because we are much better off trying to maximise our strengths than negate their weaknesses. I think it costs us too much if we try to negate their weaknesses. So I think it will be. I think Baye might keep his place, because I don't think he did anything wrong, unless Solskjaer perceives him as kind of, too much of a loose cannon in this game. Although I don't know, Lindelof's had a weird season. But anyway, yeah. So I think it'll be Baye, but I think Matic will come in for Fred.
Yeah, that's probably right. And then the two patterns that I discussed earlier. One, United's lack of attacking from fullback, and Sevilla's lots of attacking from fullback. And I think that'll be interesting. Are their attacking fullbacks going to be so high up the pitch that Wan-Bissaka and Williams are under pressure all the time? And we can't get Rashford and Greenwood into the game, or can we exploit that space that there will be behind those players, Navas and Reguilon, and get our forwards, Greenwood, Rashford, into those channels? Could be a good option.
We've definitely got players who can hit a long diag, haven't we? So that should help. Yeah, brill. Can't wait for this one. Really looking forward to it. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We're not going to do transfer nonsense chat today because there's nothing to report except the nature of reporting, which, whatever. And we'll talk about that as and when things actually happen. Patreon backers, we are going to do a quick chat about the Champions League. We're trying to squeeze in a recording in the middle of working day, so it's going to be shorter than usual, but we'll have a bit of chat about the Champions League. And yeah, everyone else, will see you, I guess, on Monday, probably. If we're playing on Sunday, I guess we'll record after that, and we'll see you then.
Okay, have a good one.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.